It's a story as old as time. The boy with unbridled potential, lost before he ever achieved what the world needed him to. River Phoenix was special. His acting had taken the world by the reins and in turn forced it to listen. He was the forerunner of animal rights activism that precedes the social justice movement that celebrities force upon us today. River Phoenix was one of a kind. But on October 31st, 1993, his life came to an end, well before we got to see what could have potentially been. I find myself here to discuss someone who greatly interests me, the life of such a talented actor and its unfortunate end. But it's not always the destination. Sometimes it's within the journey where you find the most interesting information. So let's take a look at the life of River Phoenix. On the 23rd of August in Madras, Oregon, Arlene Dunetz and John Lee Bottom gave birth to River Jude Bottom. The name River came from the River of Life in the Herman Hesse novel Siddhartha, and Jude came from Hey Jude, the song by the Beatles. The family lived a nomadic existence, moving across the country while he was still very young. The family were in a desperate situation as quoted by River, and he and his sister would often have to sing songs with a guitar on corners to make money for the family. He never received any form of formal education, only what life had to offer him. Then enter the Children of God. The Children of God were a Christian cult created to spread the word of salvation, apocalypticism, spiritual revolution and happiness, and a distrust of the outside world. And the Bottom family had found themselves members of this Christian missionary group, or as most would say, they had found themselves members of a notorious cult. For years, the family found themselves travelling around South America with the Children of God, helping to spread the message. During this time, Rain, Summer, Liberty and Leaf, now known to the world as Joaquin, were born into the Bottom family. It wasn't until the late 1970s that the family would finally become upset with the practices of the cult and escape back to America, though I doubt some of the events that transpired along the way would ever leave the mind of River. The family moved in with Arlene's parents in Florida and changed their name to Phoenix, to rise from their ashes and start a new beginning. The family would then move to Los Angeles, where Arlene would become a broadcaster for NBC, and the children would sing and perform comedy sketches on corners for extra money. The family, after all, were homeless for a while, sleeping in a car until they found residence. The four children's charm and talent was evident, and talent agent Iris Burton seen this within them. She signed the four children and quickly cast River in a musical television show called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. To get this role, River showed up to the audition with his guitar in hand and did an Elvis Presley impression, which won over the judges. From here on out, it was nothing but up for River. He'd go on to star in various television shows, mini-series and television films, before he would get his silver screen break in Joe Dante's large-budget sci-fi flick, Explorers, being nominated for an award for an exceptional performance by a young actor. This would lead on to the role that would skyrocket River into being a star. In 1986, Rob Reiner would direct and release the coming-of-age movie Stand By Me, with River Phoenix playing the role of Chris Chambers, the misunderstood rebel with a heart of gold. The fragile and eccentric role would come to be iconic to many. In many ways, River found himself empathising with the role, stating, "The truth is, I identified so much with the role of Chris Chambers that if I hadn't had my family to go back to after the shoot, I'd have probably had to see a psychiatrist." In the same year, River would go on to star in The Mosquito Coast, where he played the son of Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. The director Peter Weir said of River, "It was obvious he was going to be a star. It's something apart from acting ability. Laurence Olivier never had what River had." He would go on to star in various movies before landing his sixth role as Danny Pope in Running on Empty. This role entailed playing someone from a nomadic family on the run, something he could draw on his reality for. The role would get River a nod from the Academy with a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, as well as the Golden Globe nomination as well. The same year as Running on Empty, River would get a true Hollywood blockbuster role, portraying a young Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. River would meet Keanu Reeves while Reeves was filming Parenthood with Joaquin. The meeting of the two would come to set up an onstage chemistry-filled partnership that first would display itself in the movie I Love You to Death, directed by Lawrence Kasdan, but then would truly hit home in the Gus Van Sant movie My Own Private Idaho. The film depicts the lives of two friends, Mikey Waters and Scott Favor, who are queer street hustlers, and their journey to Mike's hometown Idaho, then to Rome. The film's a light derivative of Shakespeare's Henry IV. The film today is a cult classic and seen as a major moment in queer cinema. The role would win River his first acting awards, receiving the Independent Spirit Award and Volpe Cup for Best Actor. The movie had displayed the full extent of River's current ability and how much of it there was. Unfortunately to some, it seemed the film left some unfortunate remnants in the life of River as he started to use cocaine and heroin recreationally. Though Gus Van Sant had stated that River was never a user, just partook occasionally. River was an avid and very prominent animal rights, environmental and political activist. He worked as a spokesperson for PETA and even won the Humanitarian Award in 1992 for his valiant efforts for the cause. To many, River was seen as the vegan James Dean. There's even a story told by his ex-girlfriend Martha Plimpton that River burst into tears at a restaurant because he had ordered a crab dish. She stated that she had no idea how seriously he took his veganism until this moment. To the world, River was the poster child of health and political and social justice. In contrary to River's public appearance, his private life was becoming more affected by heavy drinking and substance abuse. Van Sant had even stated that River's problem wasn't with regular drug use, but he did have a serious problem with alcohol. In a book written by River's longtime friend Bob Forrest, called Running with Monsters, he would talk about the long and dangerous drug binges he'd embark on with River and John Frusciante, the guitarist from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. To me, it would appear that patterns and behaviours like this would become very easy to fall into, especially as a young successful actor with a lot of expendable money. The details of his lifestyle would not become public until after the actor's death. In October of 1993, River was in Los Angeles for the day. Phoenix was visiting the Viper Room on Sunset Strip, a club partly owned by actor Johnny Depp. River and his girlfriend at the time, Samantha Mathis, had originally only intended to stay for a short while, until the band P had asked River to perform with the band. Samantha had stated during their time dating, he had been sober, but in the days before he died, she knew something was going on. She didn't see drugs that night, but he was high in a way that made her feel uncomfortable. I won't go into the saddening details of the events within the nightclub as to not cause distress, but by 2 a.m, the attempts to resuscitate River Phoenix were unsuccessful, and he was pronounced dead from a heroin overdose at the age of 23. The news swept across newspapers, magazines and television, causing a global upset. How could someone with so much potential leave the world so soon? Too soon, before he could accomplish everything he had to offer. The day after the death of River Phoenix, the club became a shrine in his memory. Fans and mourners leaving flowers, pictures and candles on the sidewalk. The owner placed a sign in the window that read, "With much respect and love to River and his family, the Viper Room is temporarily closed. Our heartfelt condolences to all his family, friends and loved ones. He will be missed." And with that, the story of River's life came to an abrupt and shocking ending. Depp continued to close the club every year on October 31st until he sold his share in the club in 2004. Phoenix was cremated in Gainesville, Florida at Millam Funeral Home, and his ashes were scattered in the river on his family property in Costa Rica. And thus ended the ballad of River Phoenix.